actually is the lead play in our offense.
Yes, a YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim, live in Green Bay. We got Emilio down here in Tennessee. Ready to talk a little Packers for you guys tonight. And Mike Berry already getting this thing cranked up here, boys.
Yeah, here we go.
Three little words there. Here we go, baby. Here we go. How was your day today, Tim?
Oh, great, man. Happy to be here. Getting ready to talk some ball. How about you, Clay?
Oh, it was wonderful, dude. Wonderful. It rained all day, so we just kind of laid on the couch, and every now and again you'd raise up, you'd look out the window and go, "Yeah, it's still raining." Go
yeah. Emilio's out there in the rain, I'm sure. Yeah, that's exactly what Clayton was doing.
So, did you get any work done today, Emilio?
Yeah, I threw 2 yards of mulch, got a bed cleaned out, knocked that out, got the trailer organized a little bit, but. Hey, man, I'm excited. It was raining all day, though. That's the truth. I needed to take a warm shower.
No doubt. I want to give a shout-out to everybody in the chat here. We got United Bates, Mike Berry. Let's see, Ron Samble in the house. We got Greg in here. Cody up in here. We got Prince. We got Too Old for This. Good evening, Too Old for This. Good to see you, buddy. We had a great day, man. Not being a Bears fan, right? That's the key. That is the key right there. So no doubt about that. Cody in the chat said, it's a shame we're talking about signing a safety for $12 million when we had a great player in. I'm assuming he's saying Sewell. We got rid of last year. Looks like Russell. If you're talking about Russell, I'm assuming that's who you're talking about there. Looks like he restructured his contract with Buffalo, freed up like a little less than $3 million for next year. He's going to stay in Buffalo. Obviously Sewell. Not a safety, and I think that's our greatest need right now. But boy, it sure would be nice to have him opposite Jair. And I'm going to tell you right now, Cody, that man right here in the middle on this podcast right now on this show, he's waiting for that third-round pick. He wants to see who we take. He's keeping receipts, aren't you, Tim?
He's been waiting.
91. It's pick 91.
Who's counting? It's just pick 91, right?
Every time it comes up, Tim knows.
Yeah. I love it. Deadfish says, good evening, everyone. Just coming over from Jake's channel where he's going wild with the mocks. Hey, anytime you get in the mood to watch a mock draft, just hop over there to Jake's channel, and he's going to drop all kinds of draft knowledge on you. If you guys are interested in draft talk, he is the guy here with Packernet Podcast, no doubt about it. If you scan the QR code in the upper right, that'll send you to Packernet Podcast on your favorite mobile platform. And you can find the It's Always Draft Season podcast by Jake Shavink. Top-notch draft coverage. Just an awesome dude, too, no doubt about that, man. Also, want to give a shout-out to our sponsors, Ticket King. Appreciate them supporting the show. They are the official – let me get this down real quick. They are the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live. They're Wisconsin-based, been that way since 1992, specializing in Packer tickets. They're Wisconsin's largest ticket source as well. They've got offices next to Lambeau Field and also in Milwaukee. If you'll click on the link in the description of this video, that will send you to their website, www.theticketking.com, where you can register for free as a customer and go ahead and get yourself ready for the May schedule release. And when the tickets start to drop, I promise you, they're going to be able to save you some money over there on Packer tickets. That's their bread and butter, man. That's what they really key in on. And make sure you take advantage of it this year. Again, that is Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live. We appreciate them. So anything you guys want to kick off with specifically? I know we had a few more cuts today. Emilio, we were laughing about it. There's several teams, right, that are we don't know how they're going to field a team as of right.
That's it. How are we going to have enough players we need 11 on each side, man. I feel like they've cut 11 in the past 2 days.
It's wild, isn't it? Buffalo's the big one for me today. Obviously, they're letting go some big name players. They're keeping Von Miller. They're just restructuring that contract, but they let go Jordan Poyer. They're letting go Micah Hyde. They put the best tweet up earlier, Tim. It was just a window frame that had been bricked over, and it just said Buffalo Bills, like the window's closed, right? Watch them go out and win it this year without those key players. That would be hilarious. But that's the price you pay, man. Cash over cap. Sooner or later it comes due. And you guys hear me say, half of the crowd is the salary cap's fake. The other half is gloom and doom salary cap. I'm right in the middle. The cap is very real from a date sensitive standpoint. You can make anything work that you want to make work. The Bills could have made this work this year, right?
Yep.
The decision they made was, you know what? Let's rip this Band-Aid off. Let's go ahead and get some of this cap cleaned up, and let's kind of start fresh moving forward. Not that they won't be competing, because they do have one of the best quarterbacks in the league for sure. Look, they're already competing. You kidding me? 2-0 for this says the Bills signed Trubisky today. Super Bowl confirmed. So, Mitch Trubisky, man, I'll tell you what. That's wild. Absolutely wild. It was like it was yesterday, Tim, that Bears fans were like, this is the guy, man. Here's a guy that's going to dominate.
Yeah, we do this every 3 years.
That's right. Every single time, man.
Dude, I was talking to the Bears fans that run the mulch place near me, and I swear they're like, dude, I don't even know what's going to happen. Like, they talk about Justin Fields being this. They talk about getting picks. Like, are we going to pick Caleb Williams? And I'm like, I just need an answer from you. I would just love to, like, a firsthand fan take, but they don't even know what to think. Like, they're so in shambles, I feel like that.
You want to know what I think, Emilio?
The Bears still suck.
Tim, that's exactly where I was thinking, because when I was talking to my man,
things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
Ja, he was saying the same thing. So I was that's exactly where I was at with it.
I love it. Ron Sample says, what about the linebacker from Miami? Saying we may be looking since we have his old coach. I can't even remember the guy's name, to be honest with you.
Let me see.
If you could pull that up, Emilio, I'll pull it up on PFF. We'll take a quick look at it and see if he's worth looking into here real quick. I think that'd be a good move.
He was Jerome Baker, if that's who he's talking about. Yep, there we go, Ron. Attaboy.
Jerome Baker. Keep talking for a second. We'll see if we can pull up his information.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. How is Miami going to field the team if the 4 on the top 12 list I had yesterday had Miami players, and they've gotten rid of half the other team that they did field, but they're getting rid of decent players. We've looked at that center, we've looked at everybody else. What is this Baker guy going to be about? Like, how are they letting these guys, just slip through their fingers?
I don't know, man. Jerome Baker, though, he is, 27 years old. He's 6'2", 225, run a 4.5 40 real quick. Came out of Ohio State, drafted in the year 2018. He was a third-round selection. PFF grade last year was a 66.6. And when we try to look at his career stats here, let's see. So his PFF grade since he came in the league, 70, 46, 55, 60, 78, 66. Pretty inconsistent, but I do think that you make a valid point there. Whoever it was in the chat, who was that in the chat that mentioned Ron. Sometimes these coaches, when they go into free agency, say, hey, man, make a list. You got any players out here that you really like? Yeah, this is a guy that was, a key piece of my linebacker room. And listen, we kind of scoff at the 66.6. You want me to be real with you for a minute? That's a higher PFF grade than any.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. And
they're just letting him, hey, all right, he's got to go. Corner's got to go. Xavier's got to go. It's like, dude, what's going on, man?
Yep. And, obviously they're just cleaning up that cap. That's what they're looking to do. We've got a list of players here real quick. If you guys would take a second and smash that like button with your pinky for us, all right? And other Packer fans can find this podcast, find this content, this channel. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us.
There's that right hand, and then you got the left hand too.
Yeah, like why does that bother you? Would this one be better? Here, let's go to Anthony Munoz. What do you think? I think that's the worst of the three. What do you think?
That one might be. Yeah, I think.
So, all right. So the only thing I think of is like, when you go to get a measurement and you're like, all right, I know this measurement's 9 inches. How does he do that, man? Like when he goes to just do a quick measurement with his hand, that thing is crossed up.
Yeah, I know this. used to be in construction. You need that square, right?
Right.
Your square. You got one right there. Man. You don't
Dude,
need
he's already got his T. Yeah, he's already got the T square. He's ready to go.
Oh, and then we finished it.
Golly, man. You guys are out of control. Get that off my screen, man. I'm sorry, I got to hit you with it real quick. Oh Lord, we done changed the background and everything, boys. This is out of control.
We are off the rails already.
Tim,
We've got too many crooked fingers on the screen.
I don't know what's going on here. Wait, is this the one we want?
I don't know, Vince. I'm trying to get it on the rails, though, Vince. I promise. Here, let's get back here. Get back
There
to
we go.
There we go. That's better. All right. So, anyways, people on the pod are like, "What are they laughing at?" Don't worry about it. You don't want to see it. I promise you. So here's the DBs that whether you like NFL rumors or not. I know some of these aggregators piss people off. For me, I'm just looking for information, man. They compiled it in one tweet. This was the most convenient one I found. But at NFL Rumors tweeted out NFL notable DBs that have been released: Dolphins, Xavier Howard; Bills, Tre'Davious White; Bears, Eddie Jackson; Eagles, Kevin Byard; Bills, Jordan Poyer; Seahawks, Jamal Adams. That one got a lot of traction. I had no idea why. Seahawks, Quandre Diggs. That's another one that I was just scratching my head going, are we just getting excited about any DB that's getting released? J.C. Jackson from the Patriots, Darius Williams from the Jaguars, Rayshon Jenkins from the Jaguars, and Avonte Maddox from the Eagles. Now, I went through and ran some of the numbers just to kind of see. Actually, I'll leave that up for a second to see who might make sense here, okay? Tre'Davious White graded out as a 68 last year. He's 29 years old. That'd be pretty much a no for me. Jordan Poyer, 73 last year, but he's 32 years old, right? Jamal Adams, 54.9. I seen people, Jamal Adams, you guys kind of heard my take yesterday, right? I pulled the numbers thinking maybe he was better than I remember. 54.9. Like, was that?
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Andre Diggs was another one, his teammate, that was like, hey, man, bring them both in. 55.1, 31 years old. J.C. Jackson from New England, 34.8. Like, what were you doing? Were you playing backwards or what? I'm confused. 34.8. And then Darius Williams was the one that kind of got my attention a little bit from the Jaguars. He graded out a 79.5. But keep in mind, he is 31 years old. That might be just kind of a 1-year patch him up type thing. So of that list, I would probably take a peek at Tre'Davious White if you can get a really good deal on him. Jordan Poyer might be a good veteran presence for the right price. I'm not talking $5+ million, and he may demand more than that in the market. Who knows? And Darius Williams was the one who piqued my interest the most. And we do have our list of players from last night too. But as far as that list there, Tim, anybody there kind of grab your attention you might be interested in signing, man?
I mean, nobody's like jumping off that list. You might be able to twist my arm on a few of these names, but to your point, I think it's, kind of a natural thing that we're going to get excited about any corner or safety that's released or becoming available right now, just because, we've got a lot of positions that we want to fill in our secondary. So it's going to be the natural inclination. But looking at this group, no, I mean, I'm not like jumping up and down for joy over anyone here. I don't know. What do you think, Emilio?
So the only thing I thought was Tre'Davious White. What do you have as the age for him, Clayton? You said
Tre'Davious White's 29 years old.
So versus Darius Williams, who you said was 31.
Correct.
I wouldn't be opposed to looking at Tre'Davious White because I know that I'd seen online, Packers were talking or, whatever about Darius Williams. I honestly would go 2 years younger and say Tre'Davious White. It would be almost kind of like a Rasul flip. Hey, we gave them Rasul. We'll take Tre'Davious off your hands. I'm not opposed to that. He was a decent, shutdown corner for a while there. But I don't know if you can pull up his PFF grades, Clayton.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay, cool. Good deal. But like I said, everyone's getting rid of someone. Are they still good? Are they bad? Why are they getting rid of them? Is it a money issue? Where is Goody going to see, the benefits of these players?
Right. Yeah, Tre'Davious White, 5'11", 192, ran 4.40. That was back in 2017 coming out in the draft. He was a first-round selection. He had some really good years. This year he graded up. Can you see this, guys?
Yep.
Okay. This year he graded out a 68. His coverage grade was 79. Not bad. Run defense, obviously bad, but he is a corner. You kind of come to expect it. When you go to premium stats here and we look at it from year to year, let's kind of see So he only played 4 weeks last year, looks like 4 games last year. So keep that in mind too. So you got to kind of throw that grade out. But
yeah, I think he got hurt. I don't remember what happened, but he was out like the rest of the year, right? So we don't have to look at that PFF grade, but are we happy with how he's processed, 19, 20, 21, 22?
Yeah, exactly. So like when he came in the league, he was a stud, right? His rookie year, 88.5, then a 61, 76, 74, and then the last 3 years has been 65, 61, and then the injury riddled obviously season last year, 68. It looks like he only played 307 snaps in 2022 as well. So I think it's going to be a no from me, to be honest with you. So
yeah,
that's I thought I had that up the whole time. I was on a different screen. It linked me to a different.
No, you're
screen.
fine. Unless you could get him on a cheap deal, right?
Right.
I love the deal, but if he's the only thing I do like is that he's been above 60 the whole time, even with the injury. He's not performing when he's out there. So that's the only thing that would I'd kind of hang my hat on.
Yeah, for sure. Ron in the chat said Watt had some really good years, tore his Achilles last year. I think some kind of injury like that for sure. 2-0 for this says it's like when we signed Jalen Smith, people got excited because they recognized the name, not because he was a good player. I kind of got excited because you gave up pretty much nothing for him. And I remember how good he was at Notre Dame. He was the top, if I remember correctly, he was the top linebacker recruit coming out of high school, and he signed with Notre Dame. And he was just a phenomenal player, but obviously he got hurt there the year going in. I think it was the national championship, I believe it was that year coming into the draft. And then, of course, many people didn't know, but Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys doctors are the ones who did the surgery, and they had the most inside information on Jalen Smith. That's why they spent a second-round pick on him. I don't know if those doctors are still employed by the Dallas Cowboys because obviously they were wrong on that. Although he did say stay somewhat healthy, he was never the same player. I mean, if I remember correctly, he had drop foot, like where there was nerve damage in that leg to where he couldn't even hardly feel it. Like how surprised he was able to play as many years as he did based off the severity of the injury. But yeah, it's a good point too over this. They did get more excited about the name than anything. I know I did just because I'm a Notre Dame fan. And I was kind of rooting for the guy. When the Packers signed him, though, I'd already seen what he'd done in Dallas and followed along. And I remember thinking, this probably isn't going to end well. It's kind of like when they signed my boy Tim Couch way back in the day, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. Emilio was probably in diapers, but
I have no idea.
I remember Tim Couch.
Yeah. So Tim Couch was like, he played high school ball over in Leslie County, Kentucky, just one county over from where I grew up. So we kept hearing about the legend of Tim Couch was amazing. You guys know the country singer Chris Stapleton?
Yep.
He and Tim Couch had like one of the greatest high school battles. He was a linebacker and a running back, and Tim Couch was a quarterback for opposite teams. I want to say that Chris Stapleton played for Knox Central, I think, and then Couch played for Leslie County. Long story short, he goes to Kentucky, brings Kentucky back to relevance, right? Like they go to many bowl games. He ends up getting drafted by the Browns. Of course, the Browns do what they do with quarterbacks. They absolutely ruined him. He got killed for 4 years. So the Packers signed him. And I remember the day me and my brother were living together in Knoxville. And my brother's like my dad. He's much older than me, and he's just kind of his father figure to me. And I remember coming like, hey, we signed Couch. And there was a preseason game that night. And we went and we watched the preseason game on Alan's TV, my brother's TV. We were sitting there in the living room. And I will never forget the first pass, man. Couch dropped back under center, 5-step drop, let that thing rip on an out route. And he bounced it 5 feet in front of the receiver. And my brother laughed out loud because Joe Theismann was calling the game. And Joe Theismann said, well, that's just pathetic. My brother put his spear out. So that was the end of Tim Couch in Green Bay. Obviously, he didn't. So there you go, man.
Hey, you remember when Vince Young was a Packer for like 45 minutes?
I do remember that. Actually. It's wild to think back on some of the names that have come through.
Sure.
Seneca Wallace. Remember Seneca Wallace was kind of a big name coming out of college. I think he played for Washington State. Packers got him there for a year or two from Seattle. Interesting times, no doubt, man. It's just wild to look back and think of all the players that's come and gone and how fortunate we've been at the quarterback position for sure. Let's see here what we got in the chat. You got it marked. I'm reading it, boys. Number one Packer fan said Packer fans are acting like Oprah's handing out safeties. You get a safety, you get a safety.
You get a safety, and you get a safety.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Paul Robertson. So Clayton has Jalen Smith and Tim Couch Packers jerseys. Fascinating. That is right. Oh, Tim Couch, man. I'll tell you what. The stories I heard on that young man, Lord. Let's see. Let's look back at that list. I don't have any graphics for it, but let's kind of go over the list we talked about earlier of the potential free agents that we're excited about. And again, there's going to be more names that are going to get released and everything. What I did was went through on a list and listed them out in the order of their projected value in the market. Okay. Like Xavier McKinney, $13.5 million. Frankie Louvu, $10 million linebacker, right? You got Aziz Al-Shair, $6.75 million at the linebacker position. Geno Stone, $6.5. Blake Cashman, $4.2 million. Keyshawn Nixon, $4.2 million. Bobby Wagner, $4 million. Brandon Jones, $3.38 million. Tyrell Dotson, linebacker, $3.2 million. Alohi Gilman, safety, $2.6 million. Then you got Sean Takataki, $2.5 million at the linebacker position. Anthony Walker, $2 million at the linebacker position. And then safety Rudy Ford, $1.7. What I did was I went through and I color-coded the grades and the age. Anyone who was 80 or above with the PFF grade last year, they got the green color code, as well as the guys who were under the age of 28. And here are the names that really popped off the page to me, okay? Xavier McKinney, safety, right at that $13.5 million. Frankie Louvu, $10 million. 27 years old. Blake Cashman, linebacker, $4.2 million, 27 years old, 82.1 PFF grade there. Bobby Wagner, $4 million, 82.4. Now, he's 33 years old, but still graded out above an 80. That's why he kind of made the cut here. Tyrell Dotson, $3.2 million at 90.2 PFF grade at the linebacker position. And then Alohi Gilman, $2.6 million, 86.1. If you work that backwards and focus on the players in the green off this little chart I put together, there's a handful of players that you could get that I would be excited about. Like, let me ask you this. Remove the name, remove everything about the player. If I told you, hey, you can get a safety who's going to grade out at 86.1 and you can get him for $2.6 million this year, what do you think? Would you do it? Like, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So that's Alohi Gilman. If I were to tell you, hey, we could plug and play a linebacker in for $3.2 million and his PFF grade last year was a 90.2, probably do that one too, right? That's Tyrell Dotson. Next would be Bobby Wagner at 82.4, and then Blake Cashman at a 4.2. So I'm just saying there's 4 players right there that I could get really excited about. If you tack on Rudy Ford, who I know he just graded out a 69.9, but if you tack on Rudy Ford at $1.7 million, if you throw him and Alohi Gilman into this defense, and you added Tyrell Dotson and Bobby Wagner, guys, you're only going to be tying up, $7, $8, $9, $10 million of the cap for 4 players who most likely will be contributing. I think 3 of the 4 will probably be day one starters.
Yep.
That's the top.
If there's any player I'll break my rule of not taking anybody older than 30, it's Bobby Wagner. Absolutely. That guy, I mean, you don't have that same level of concern. Like you said, I mean, if he's on the quote unquote, downswing of his career and he's still grading out, 80 plus PFF grade, I mean, it tells you a lot about the caliber of player. And Bobby Wagner is one of those guys who's always been in really good shape too. You never worry about him, coming to camp overweight, that kind of stuff. So, I would definitely break my rule for Bobby Wagner, even if it is 1 year. It'd be nice to see how far we can go on a little run here.
Yeah. And Ron asks a great question. He says, how are these high-graded players at low salaries not being re-signed? Multiple reasons, right? You got some teams who are just looking to cut cap, much like how the Bills are in, right? They may even look up and have a younger player at that position if they go, you know what, let's let him walk. Let's move forward with this player. They could play just as well, and we can get them for much cheaper. Some organizations place more value on different positions, right? We see that all the time. With Alohi Gilman, I think the answer to that question, Ron, at $2.6 million is he's only done it for 1 year. He did it last year. Other than that, he's underperformed. But that's the thing. For $2.6 million, if you go give him a 3-year contract at let's call it $7 million and guarantee 4 of it, then you're only on the hook for $4 million. That'll probably be the best offer he gets if the market value matches what Spot Track's saying. Then you got a potential for a player that what if the 80s in a PFF grade is the new baseline for Alohi Gilman, and immediately you think, well, he's going to a new system. He's probably going to step back a bit. That's true. But his defensive coordinator is now our defensive backs coach. And he's also our passing game coordinator. So you'd like to think that would be about as smooth a transition as you're going to have, maybe outside of a Brandon Staley defense, which we all know Brandon Staley wasn't calling the plays on defense to the best of my knowledge. So, yeah, I think Alohi Gilman's the one who catches my attention the most. What do you think, Emilio?
Yeah, I think the same thing there. We made the list because we like the numbers, but again, we're going to talk about it. We're going to try to narrow down that list, but it's always going to be added to from, them getting rid of players daily. So, I mean, we could have a number one. We could have a number one pick. It could be Bobby. It could be Alohi Gilman. It could be somebody ready lined up, and tomorrow they release the perfect guy, ready for us to hop onto. So. Let's look at the PFF grades because I'm excited to see any option that we can before the draft.
Absolutely. So again, Alohi Gilman, he was a 6th-round selection. That might be another reason, right? Remember what I talked about too, Ron? These teams, when a player hits free agency, the very first thing they do is go back to their draft grades on those players, right? That's the very first thing they do. They'll go and see, okay, what kind of draft grade did we have on him? And then they'll look at, okay, what has his scouting been across the league since he's been in the league? How has he performed? Okay, what defense was he in? What counterparts did he have? Who did he have playing next to him? What was he asked to do? Did that match the strength that we have for him coming out in the draft? All those things, right? But you can see his PFF grade at 86.1. Run defense was a 75.2. Coverage grade, 89.2. So solid performance there. If we go and look at it from a career standpoint real quick, you can see he pretty much played all 18 games as well, right? Or all 18 weeks, 17 games. Defensive grade starting from week 1 last year, okay? 52, 70, 85, 71, 90, 39.9, 75, 81, 54, 69, 50, 81, 74, 88. Finished real strong. If you look at it by the year, though, this is probably what's driving his value down. 47, 58, 54, 86. But when you look at the total snaps, I mean, he doubled. The most snaps he had up before last year was in 2022 at 474 snaps. He had 928 last year. So I think for $2.6 million, I mean, I think it's more than worth it to give it a shot there. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd be cool with McKinney or Gilman, honestly, but I think you bring up a lot of good points with Gilman. There's value there. I really think there is. And there's definitely a need for us on the back end. And the familiarity, with our, DB's coach and passing game coordinator, that can't be understated. You don't want to overstate it either and make it more than it is. But, that's a big thing. And the fact that he could be a good scheme fit, come in and contribute. You talk about guys coming in and contributing right away. Safety is one of those areas that, we want some competition back there, but more than that, I would like, somebody back there that's going to lay the law down and get us where we need to be on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree, man. Completely agree. I'm trying to get it to pull up the right screen for us too. I'm going to move on to Tyrell Dotson, one of the guys we found yesterday. Yeah.
No, but I'm with Tim on. I liked how Gilman, I liked how he looked and everything. It's all about the money. It's all about the age. It's all about the contract. And that's where, the teams run into the problem of having to release him and all that. So that's where Goody, can step up and take the chance. That he wants to make a move in free agency. We're just going to sit here and guess until we get it right, hopefully, on who he's going to actually pull the trigger on, right? So, we could talk about every person in the league until we figure out who it's going to be.
Definitely.
Clayton, I had a question for you. When it comes to safety, what do you, free safety, strong safety, what do you think is the more important of the two?
Hands down, it's free safety for me. And the reason being, it's the last line of defense. If we're going to be going to a single high look, and keep in mind, guys, we played single high 5th most in the league last year. Single high simply being a cover 3 defense, cover 3 zone, or a cover 1 man where you've got a safety roaming deep center field, right, in between the hashes, that type of guy. To me, that's the most important, that and Mike linebacker. Those are right down the center of your defense, along with that nose, the guy who's going to play that 1-3 tech that can control the line of scrimmage in the middle. You want the strongest point of your defense to be right down the center of the field because you're using the out-of-bounds markers as extra defenders. Essentially, out-of-bounds on each side of the field are 3 extra defenders at, 1 at each level, right? So,
do you think Kenny's that lockdown in the middle?
What's that?
Do you think Kenny's the lockdown in the middle?
I don't, man. I don't. And that's why I had defensive line as one of our needs, a starting defensive lineman. I'm still looking for that Aaron Donald, man. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for that player that can be a dominant force in the middle. Now, will us switch into a 4-3, will that unlock Kenny? It's possible. I hope so, right? But the problem is Kenny's getting a little bit older now too, right? What is he, 27, 28? So if you draft a player now and it does unlock Kenny, in 2 years, you could potentially have his replacement. Now, we hope Devontae Wyatt develops into that. You just haven't seen it in the run defense game, man. Devontae Wyatt's one of the worst tackling defensive linemen in the league, unfortunately. I mean, that's just a fact.
I don't think half his
he's a disruptor, though, in the trenches, and that's a big part. If he can shore up the tackling, man, we having a lot of different conversations about him. I mean, I think you that could be said about Kenny too sometimes,
Yeah.
Right.
But back to the safety question, Tim. You're going to have a guy who's going to be patrolling deep third, right, deep middle, whether it's in a zone or a cover one-man look. But on the opposite side, you're going to have a safety that's going to play what we call spur. And spur is that strong safety that typically rotates into the box and plays a rack coverage. He plays underneath, okay? And he's also helping against the run. To me, it's more important to have that guy that's going to play that deep third, right? That's right. Like think of the great defenses in the history of the game, and who did you have back there patrolling, right? You had Ed Reed with Baltimore is the first person that comes to mind for me. Even Troy Polamalu. Troy Polamalu would play spur. He would get in the box when he had to, but he would also cover that deep third when they were against a pass-heavy team. He could do it all. Typically, players aren't good enough to do both of those assignments. So you got a guy that will be designated to play what we call post safety, that middle safety, that deep third, or play what we refer to as spur, where it's the safety is playing in the box. That's the problem with bringing back Savage. If you bring back Savage, that's what they had him do last year. He played pretty well. He played spur. He would rotate into the box, right? Now, with his exit interview, Jason Wilde said that he told him at the exit interview that he was not happy with the way they used him. Now, you come to whatever conclusion you want, but if you look at the tape and go, okay, Hark, he didn't like how they used him. How did they use him? They used him as a spur. So if they use him as a spur, maybe this isn't going to be a good fit for him because they've seen him that way. I know everyone, the easy argument is, well, that was Joe Barry. Joe Barry made him do it. Guys, Matt LaFleur was calling the shots. Like Matt LaFleur said it halfway through the season. He was going to get involved with the defense. So I think that Savage didn't like how he was being used because he wanted to play that post safety. Now, if they could come to some kind of agreement and have him play post safety, then maybe he'll be back. The problem is I don't see him playing that well as a post safety. I think we've seen him, Tim, when he's in that post safety position and he has to come flying down into the box to make a tackle, he just gets juked out of his shoes every single time. We watched it over and over and over on Chalk Talk the last 2 years. Like it's just that's the only problem. There's just too much inconsistency for me. So Tyrell Dotson was another player that we mentioned. He's 25 years old, graded out a 90.2 last year. And to answer your question on this one, Ron, who did he play for? The Buffalo Bills. What's going on in Buffalo right now, Emilio? Damn fire sale, isn't it, man?
Get rid of everybody they have.
Exactly. So that's probably why they can't afford to pay him, or at least let him test the market, and then they may try to match it later. And there's still time. Tyrell Dotson might get signed by the Bills, right? You got this little grace period here before the 11th and the legal tampering period starts. Maybe they will sign him, but he's 6 foot 237. Let's see. His draft year was 2019, but he was an undrafted free agent. Last year, his PFF grades by week were 51, 64, 85, 62, 73, 74, 79, 65, 92, 65, 74, 72, 67, 58, and 85.6. If you look at it yearly, though, again, why is his value down? 2020, 52, 57, 48, and then last year, boom, he jumps up to 89. Now, keep in mind, he doubled his snaps last year, too. So probably going to be someone who could play a little more will and be available in your base defense, which is totally fine if you're only willing to pay him $3.2 million. I'd be totally cool with that. That's another player, too. You give him a 3-year deal. It's actually just a 2-year. If you went out after 2 years, you've got control over the contract in the third. You can free up, pretty much every bit of the money that you've got on the books for him in the third year if it doesn't work out, and it's a good way to build the basement of that linebacker room. So what do you guys think about him, and you think he'd be worth taking a swing on at 3.2 if the market doesn't get too inflated there?
Yeah. What do you got, Tim?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I was still thinking about this chat here. Is this Carney 12 says Dotson needs to lose 15 pounds and go to safety?
Wouldn't be bad out.
He would be a beast.
That's kind of where I was looking. Clayton, scroll back down for me real quick. On the bottom there, I think he had it. Where was it here? 14% missed tackle percentage. Not terrible, right?
Yeah.
But I don't love that as a linebacker, So
his coverage grade was the big point, right? Like
right.
86, but yeah, you're right. Tackle grade was 51. That's a good point, Emilio.
Right. And
we just did this the other way around with Tariq Carpenter last year. We tried to make that hybrid kind of move, or play him in different spots. So
and
this is kind of what we talk about, where it's like we need someone to do their damn job.
Right.
Just like enough of this, well, you can do this and that. It's like let's get a round peg for a round hole and not keep playing this type of game.
Because that's it, Tim. Does he have the 4.4 speed, the 4.3 speed, whatever, to keep up in the nickel? Because you would slap him in at the nickel, no problem, if he's got an 85 coverage grade, right? But besides that, I mean, you'd be a little bit thicker. It'd be kind of like playing a safety down there, like he was saying. 15 pounds, switch him to safety. But with an 86 coverage grade, you love that. You love to see that. Does he have the meat on him to be able to stand up in a 4.3? Taking hits from tackles, tight ends, all that, and backs. As he's coming up to play.
Yeah, right. So the next player that I have marked in the green was Bobby Wagner at $4 million. He's 33 years old. I got it, but 6 foot 241. Obviously, he was drafted. He was drafted in 1987. 2012.
Come on now.
Look at his grades last year.
I'm stuck on that Legion of Boom.
74, 79, 64, 91, 61, 83, 83, 56, 82, 44, 55, 69, 52, 60, 57, 78, and 90. When you look at it by year, though, guys, there's a lot of blue there, boys. There's a lot of blue. That dude, I remember people scoffing at the LA Rams signing him in 2022. And
he made them all look stupid.
Every single one of them, bro. Every one of them. And what does he do well? Look at his run fit last year, 91.5. Tackle grade, Emilio, that's what you're looking for, 90.2, man.
I think Emilio stepped away for a second.
Of course he did. He's filling that glass. I know what he's doing.
He's going over to the keg, tapping the keg again. Got a daddy soda dispenser.
Exactly correct.
But no, Bobby Wagner, man, I think, like, let's just play the hypothetical game. Let's say he's signed, right? And he's a Packer for a year, and we're gonna go try and get him one more ring here before he hangs it up. What does that do to that linebacker room? That in of itself, you bring a guy like Bobby freaking Wagner into your linebacker room. If that doesn't just like light a fire under a guy like Quay Walker and Zay McDuffie, what do you think?
Yeah, the leadership. I mean, what you're going to get is a coach. You're going to get a coach in the linebacker room. Is what you're going to get, man. And he's one of these dudes too that people absolutely love. You've never heard a teammate talk bad about him. He's a leader in every sense of the word. Now, listen, he could hit the wall this year and grade out in the 60s. Oh, well, that's where our linebackers graded last year anyway. We had two of our starting linebackers. Well, Quay and Isaiah McDuffie didn't even make it into the 60s. That's why I'm like, for $4 million.
That's why this is so unique, because normally you're never having this type of conversation with a player of this age. You know what I mean? Especially at this position. Normally you'd automatically kind of scoff at bringing in an older veteran, but I think Bobby Wagner is the exception to the rule here. I really do.
Again, I don't think that the Packers' success hinges on Bobby Wagner. I'm just saying, when you look at the linebacking free agency as a whole, and you say, okay, $4 million, I think there's a lot of value there for Bobby. If he grades out 75, right, then he'll be hands down the best linebacker we would have had on the roster last year at $4 million. Oh, by the way, you get leadership. Oh, by the way, you get a mentor for Quay. All those things, right? Mm-hmm. I think it could be huge. I really do.
And I like that he's 240, 245-ish roughly.
He's thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, bro.
That's exactly it. So if we're gonna spend some money on a linebacker, I want him to be a linebacker.
Yeah.
We want him to be a dog.
Let's see here. Let's go to Blake Cashman. That's another guy we were looking at. All right, let me see if I could find him real quick. Boom. Finally figured out how to keep this up on screen. So here's Blake Cashman. He's set to hit free agency too if he doesn't get re-signed. Blake Cashman, $4.2 million was the market value. He's 27 years old. Last year, he graded out to an 82.1. Okay, so solid. He's 6'1", 237, got a little more size on him there, right? He was drafted in the 5th round in 2019, played at Minnesota. Like I say, he's 27 years old. He'll be 28. If you look at his weekly grades, 91, 78, 82, 74, 68, 72, 53, 76, 86, 69, 42, 59, 50. All right. If you look at it by year, 49, 64, 29, 54, and then last year, 83. So again, Ron, this is another one of those that he hands down had his best year last year. And again, that inconsistency, probably the reason that his value is staying down a touch, but still $4.2 million. That's not like pinching pennies. You know what I mean? That's a good chunk of change. It is. But if you could get him to perform the way he did last year, I think that could be a solid pickup there too. You know, if
anybody from D'Amico Ryan's system is welcome. I welcome them with open arms.
Yeah.
Well, that and he played at the Jets beforehand, right? Yeah. So he's been in both, you know, both stints. He had a little bit of Jets, he had a little bit of San Francisco, and now what I also like, 9.8% missed tackle percentage last year. He's under 10%. If you're a linebacker, dude, you got to be able to tackle the guy, right? Yeah. He gave up 70% receiving, just under 300 yards. Not terrible. But I'm asking you to stop the run. I'm asking you to do that. And what's his run defense at? 84.7. I love it. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, the run defense too, guys. Tackle grade 72.3, but like Emilio was saying, 84.7. That's your run fit. That's them looking at the tape, looking at the grade. Okay, did he do his job on that run play? If you go look at our linebackers, that number is typically pretty darn low.
Can you fill the gap? Can you fill the hole? Do you want to run downhill into a guard? Do you want to run downhill into a tackle or a fullback clearing through the two A gap, B gap, whatever? So I like that. I like that it changed. You know, it went from 3 snaps, 33, 149, and then he almost had 650, a little over 650. So I like that he's gotten more and didn't get worse when he got more snaps.
Definitely. Let's get to the expensive players. You guys want to go? You want to go shopping for Alexis?
I don't like to spend a lot of money.
I got run over by Alexis. You guys ever watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're solid. That's
Ron
one of
Swanson is my spirit animal.
I'm telling you, Mandy. She's told me that before. She's like, you do know you're Ron Swanson. Let's see here. Frankie Louvu, I believe is
who.
Exactly, Snoop. Played for Carolina last year. He's 27 years old, 6'3", 235. Here's a guy that's got the size that Goody's looking for, right? You know, you see he likes his linebackers a little bit taller, going out and getting Devondre Campbell, re-signing him to a pretty decent contract, drafting Quay Walker. This is more of that prototype, right? He was drafted by the Jets. He wasn't drafted, but he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Jets. By the way, Blake Cashman, like you pointed out, Emilio, so him playing for the Jets and then playing for D'Amico, both of those pretty much have morphed into what Jeff Hafley coached at last at the NFL level. Right? Under Saleh, and D'Amico Ryans obviously was in San Francisco after Saleh left. So very much so would fit that type of scheme. I believe that would scheme fit. But Frankie Louvu, again, his market value is set at $10 million per. Guys, that's a lot of freaking money. He graded out last year at an 80.0. Let's go through the weeks here. 61, 87, 59, 55, 58, 58, 78, 78, 61, 79, 49, 73, 80, 58, 83, 62, 81. And then if you look at the yearly, Ron, you were asking why are these guys cheaper than others, right? Here's one at $10 million per. Look at the consistency over the years, right? And there's still people that scoff at PFF. Like, it seems like every time we do a deep dive into a player, a scheme, or something, the numbers always match what we're seeing on the field. It's always matching what the market value is. You see here, teams are looking at maybe not necessarily PFF, but they're looking at the tape. They're looking at what their scouting information suggests about these players the last few years. They're looking at Louvu and going, you know what, this dude's been solid. 84, 74, and 80. That's why he's warning, roughly $10 million per if he does get that contract. So I just don't. Me personally, I would rather pass on Louvu and take and sign those other 4 players that we talked about: Bobby Wagner, Tyrell Dotson, Alohi Gilman, and Blake Cashman. I'd rather get all them rather than putting all your eggs in one basket with a guy like this. But you may disagree.
No, that's it, Clayton. No, scroll back down real quick. You had me at hello right there with the fact that he has 90 pass rush, right? 67 coverage. The year before his coverage was 51, 64, 43, 48, 64. If we're picking up a linebacker, we need a coverage linebacker, right? We don't need someone that can pass rush. We already got Rashawn, Preston. We got LVN. We got Brenton Cox. We got Enigbar. We have enough pass rushers, right? We need somebody that can cover and fill the run gap. He did decent on run defense last year, but the dude can't tackle and he can only pass rush. So
that's a good point, man.
After we've deep dived, I would say pass on Luvu.
Yeah. And I think I would prefer to have Cashman at 4.2 over Luvu at 10.
Cashman and some cash.
Yes. Thank you, Tim.
I see what you did there, Tim. Give yourself a bell for that one, man. Ring that bell.
The bell? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking more.
All right. We'll take it. It'll work. All right. So that is Luvu. The last one is the big dog that everyone's talking about, right? And we're talking about Xavier McKinney.
Do you want to hit the super chat before we hit Xavier McKinney?
Any super chat, you guys shut me up and talk about it.
Stop talking and read it.
Go ahead, read it for me.
How can you stop talking and read it? That doesn't make sense.
All right. It says, from Jordan Taylor, appreciate you, sir. Thank you for supporting the pod. I wonder how much stock the pack puts in the person when they evaluate draftees and free agents. I'd rather have a 65.
Ooh.
65%. 65%. That's what we.
Oh, man.
That's it. PFF character guy than a 70 who's not. Yeah, exactly. You want, in Green Bay, you want character guys. Cootie's going to look for that. The whole organization is character, right? So I would rather take someone that's above average at 65 than a dude that's a head case at 70, 100%.
Definitely.
Amen.
I agree, man. Thank you for the super chat, Jordan. We appreciate you, buddy.
Speaking of character, man, I mean,
I don't listen too much Taylor Swift.
There's the character right there, man.
That's the perfect answer, Jordan. No doubt about it. Xavier McKinney. All right, 24 years old, man. This is wild that they just cut him loose, right? Like, I don't know, man. I kind of expected a franchise. I don't know what it could be that they're switching DCs too. Wink Martindale said peace, deuces. He went down to the Bahamas and just left them high and dry. Maybe they're having to switch their defense up. I don't know. But he was drafted in 2020 in the second round. So obviously everyone had a pretty high grade on him. I imagine
almost even a first round. What's that? 36 pick?
Yeah, 36,
4 from the first round.
Yep. He was the 4th pick in the second round. 6 foot, 201, played for Bama, played for a big program, highly touted out of high school, obviously. Decent size for a safety. These grades week to week here from last year, 75, 50, 60, 71, 74, 70, 54, 55, 69, 71, 83, 91, 70, 56, 61, 62, and 95 there at the end of the year, coming to a grand total there of 87.8 was his PFF grade last year. When you look at it yearly, starting in 2020, he's been in the league for 4 years, 70, 75, dipped to 57, but played half the snaps, probably battled injury. And then last year jumped all the way up to an 87.8. Run defense grade, 70.5. Emilio, you're going to love his tackle grade. 89.1 tackle grade. You're thinking, okay, what does he cover like? 91.2 cover grade. Now, people say, but will Goody spend that money? What was the last high-price free agent that he signed that was not an edge defender? It was Adrian Amos, right? I want to say he gave him $11 million per. Was that guy that he gave him?
What do you always say, Clayton? Overpay for great, not overpay for good.
Never overpay for good. It's okay to overpay for great, but never overpay for good.
And you've seen the Packers do that, right? Who was the big corner we signed, right, and brought us a Super Bowl championship? Broke his collarbone for the team.
I think that was Chuck Woodson, wasn't it?
Bring it back, my man. If you can get a guy that's young like that, and you're not afraid to break the bank, which we've talked about, right? Goody's not looking to spend that money, but if it does come down to the right guy, and like Tim said, like Clayton's been saying, great, we'll sign that man. Put him on the team.
Charles Woodson breaking his collarbone for the team, and then playing the following snap.
Yeah.
After, like he knew the second he hit the ground, he knew he broke it.
Yep.
And he stayed on the field. Why? Because the team needed him.
Definitely put the team on his back, yo. Carly Ray says, I'm in. I want some guys that can tackle. I think everybody's tired of seeing missed tackles. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Jordan in the chat says, after you guys narrow down the list to who you like based on grades, you should do a deep dive on their community involvement and outside rep. Aaron Jones has set the standard in Green Bay, man. I'm telling you, Aaron Jones better be on that damn roster next year, or I am marching at dawn. Okay.
Yeah. Clayton, I'm right behind you. I'd be marching before dawn at that case because if I don't get 2 swipes and a first down, I'm leaving. I'm literally leaving. I want to see that on my TV come September.
Mm-hmm. I see people were asking about Antoine Winfield. Yeah, he definitely got tagged, guys.
Yep.
I think Carly cleared that up. Thank you, Carly, in the chat there. Yeah, he definitely got the tag, and Antoine Winfield would have been the best safety in this free agency. There's no doubt about it. Xavier McKinney, though, close second, man. That's
but Clayton, right here, Xavier McKinney, he's what, a corner? Am I wrong?
No, he's a safety.
He's a safety? Okay. So you lock in the safety, right? We got one locked in. We got Jair. Then you say, all right, I'm going to dabble in a safety. I'm going to dabble in a corner. We're going to go young on half the field, old on half the field, and just let it ride.
Bro, I'm telling you, if you look at the defense and everything that we broke down, right? We talked about the PFF grades. This is our starting defense, all right? Let's just focus on the players in the red. Quay Walker, who will most likely, I could see him more of a Sam backer than anything, 58.5. Now, it doesn't mean he comes off the field nickel. And nickel, he will slide, stay on the field there in that nickel 4-2-5 defense. His grade was a 58.5. I'm not suggesting you replace Quay Walker. I'm just simply saying Quay has struggled. Devondre Campbell struggled, but he graded out as a 65. He was hands down our best linebacker last year, even though he battled through the injuries. Isaiah McDuffie, 57. I love Duff, but the dude, you can get so much better on defense. Mm-hmm. If you go and you look at these free agents we just talked about, and let's say you do bring in Blake Cashman, like we said. Blake Cashman is going to compete with Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker to be on the field in that nickel defense, but he's going to be most likely your new will backer over McDuffie. You go from a 57 grade all the way to a potential 82 grade. You fix that issue right there. You take a weakness and potentially turn it into a strength. We all know he could fall flat on his face. Any of these free agents could. But the goal is to try to improve the roster any way you can and flip those weaknesses into strengths. And for $4 million, I think it's more than worth it. So if you bring Blake Cashman in that spot, hell, let's say you bring in Bobby Wagner too. All of a sudden, that 4-3 defense and that new nickel 4-2-5, you got some serious competition there, man. And you have an opportunity to really strengthen the center of your defense, no doubt. If you sign both of those players, you may feel comfortable just cutting Devondre Campbell loose, freeing up the $2.5 million, and then moving on from the contract next year, obviously, right? So that's something that's kind of in the works. Now, when you look at the safety position, our safeties that are on the roster coming back right now, Anthony Johnson Jr., 47.9. He's our post safety. He's the guy playing center field. Zane Anderson didn't even hardly get on the field. He was just more of a special teams player. He graded as a 29.8 with the 10 snaps, 11 snaps, whatever it was he had. So if you go get an Xavier McKinney at $13.5 million, there's your post safety. And then you turn around and you bring back Rudy Ford. That helps set the floor. So now you got Xavier McKinney and Rudy Ford, along with Anthony Johnson Jr. and Zane Anderson. And, oh, by the way, in the draft, you potentially pick up Tyler Newman. Once again, you're taking a weak spot on your defense and you're turning it into a positive. Like, to me, that would be the move. And, oh, by the way, Alohi Gilman at $2.6 million. Go ahead and sign him too.
Yep.
If you get Xavier McKinney, Alohi Gilman, and you go get Blake Cashman and either Bobby Wagner or Tyler Dotson, I'd be okay with Tyler Dotson with that 90.2 grade just to see if that's a real deal, if it was a fluke. You do that, and then you build through the draft. I'm telling you, man, you could flip this defense overnight, and Jeff Hafley would be one happy freaking camper, man.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, think about it. Every time the Packers have won a Super Bowl, who we had at safety? A dog, right? So we had Butler in 96, right? We had Collins in 2010. And could it be McKinney in 2024, 2025? Hey, I'll take it. But if the dude wants to play football and wants to be a dog, bring him in, let Hafley coach him up, and let's let this defense run. But he's always gonna bring in competition. And my only question, really, honestly, once we pick a safety and we draft one, I almost think we're gonna get one in free agency and draft one for sure. And then in linebacker, who's gonna wear the dot the whole time? Even if it's Quay, if he's strong, not Mike, is he gonna hold that dot the entire time and stay on the field for nickel as well? That's my only concern is how the defense is going to be communicated from sideline to field. When we're moving forward, that's what I'm kind of looking at now. The talent is going to come; they're going to find it. It doesn't matter. How are we gonna communicate from off the field to on the field moving forward?
Yeah, and some people are seeing these numbers and they're going, guys, we only got $12 million in cap space. How are you going to make all these signings? Bakhtiari, there's a good chance Bach isn't back. I hope he's back on a much cheaper deal, and we can free up anywhere from $7 to $10 million against the cap. If not, and we just cut him outright, you're going to free up $20 million, right? Xavier, this is before you finagle with the salary cap and potentially put a voidable year or two on and really make it work. $13.5 million, right, for McKinney. Blake Cashman, 4. So that's what, $17 million. And then you go ahead and tack on Alohi Gilman at 2. There is your $20 million that you just freed up from just cutting Bach, right? That's where it can come from. Now, let's say you keep Bach. You could potentially save $10 million just in restructure there. Kenny Clark, you can restructure. There's $16 million that's restructurable. You could do it very reasonably at $4 to $8 million there. Jair Alexander, you can restructure there and free up roughly $7 million. You can do Aaron Jones's, which I think they're in the process of doing something there with Jones to keep him. You could free up anywhere from $2 to $7 million with Jonesy. I think it would fall more into the 5.5 category. You've already done Preston Smith. We already talked about they were going to free up money there. They did it. Rashawn Gary, same thing. They freed up money there. Elton Jenkins, you've got $9 million in clearable cap that you could potentially restructure and free up roughly 4.5 just to be safe. Devondre Campbell, he's got $10 million you could restructure. You could very reasonably do $5 million. Essentially what you got, if you take away the $9 million that's already roughly been restructured there between Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary, and you deduct that from the 50 that we came up with, that still leaves you with $41 million. Cut it in half. You can free up easily $20-25 million. The goal is to have $5 to $7 million going into the season so you can operate with, right? Because there's going to be injuries. You're going to have to sign players from here to there. I kind of see, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is money is not an issue. If Goody wanted the question is, does Goody want these players? Goody may look at Xavier McKinney, and he might have had a freaking 5th round talent on him coming out of the draft. If that's the case, he's not going to touch him. But he also might have seen him coming out of the draft and like, man, we had a real high number 2 on him. We might want to go get him. He's proven he can play at this level, right? So we're going to find out soon, though, man. It's the March the 6th. So we got 4 or 5 days before the legal
Monday.
Yeah.
Right?
The legal tampering period will crank up, and we're going to get some more news drop before then. I guarantee it with some of these contracts. So
definitely. And I honestly think that Goody he's gonna pull the trigger on someone. He's already talked about it, he's already mentioned it. Someone he's got his eyes on that he thinks can help this team. That's the main goal. We're trying to make the Packers better. The entire time we've been talking, the entire time we've been going through these numbers, all the draft prospects, everything, so we're trying to make the Packers better. We're trying to figure out where they weak, where are we trying to get better, and how can this team, excel with our new defensive coordinator. Who's going to help them the most? If it's Xavier McKinney, sign the man. Let's go, man. Pay him $15 million. Pay him $20 million. If he's going to be the game changer for this defense, let's go.
Emilio got a little sauce in him. He's ready to spend some money tonight.
I'm ready. I don't spend money often, but you get a little bit of glass rolling. We're ready to roll.
Let's see. Ron in the chat said if best case scenario happens, then you get both McKinney and Newman. They can both be on the field. Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. Jake Shavink has done a really good job talking about this. He talks about how Newman is more of that underneath safety, what we refer to as spur. He could be your spur. McKinney could be your post safety. Go watch some of Xavier McKinney's highlights and watch how he covers ground when he comes down and drives on those underneath passes from that post position. I mean, he's one of, if not the best in the game last year to do that. I was surprised when I started seeing his name tossed around and I started looking at numbers. I'm like, okay, let's go watch some highlights, look some tape. When I threw out the tape, I was like, man, they ain't kidding. This dude balled out last year. Now, will he continue to do it? That's the question, right? And that's the gamble you take in free agency. But, so to answer your question, absolutely, man. Newman could play spur. McKinney can play post. and you're off to the races. You throw in a little Alohi Gilman there if you want to play some Okie looks, some 3 safety looks, and you got a little bit of depth there too. He's familiar with, like I said, Coach Ansley coming over from the LA Chargers. That's how you revamp that safety room. With that being said, Goody will trade out of the first round. We won't take a safety till the 5th round, and we'll be sitting here going, of course he did that. That's what happened, right? And he'll probably prove us wrong in season, but that's what we do in this podcast. We speculate. So there you go. Tim, what you got, man? We're at the hour mark. Let's get out of here, dude.
Oh, man, just having fun reading through some of the chats,
Chat's been lit tonight, dude.
Yeah, man. And hey, while we're on the subject, guys, click that like button. It helps the algorithm. We can, get more people watching the show and listening to the pod. Also, everyone on X right now over on the Twitterverse, we got a lot of viewers there too. So a like and a retweet would be awesome. Help us get the show out there a little bit more. And, obviously make sure you subscribe too if you haven't already.
All it takes is just a split second. Use that pinky, hit that like button. There you go. You know what I'm saying? So, sorry, Emilio, it's off the screen now. Here, let me hit you with
my
goodness. Body censored.
So I know we were off the rails early.
Thank God for Ron's comment there, blocking the
blocking the pinky. The only thing that's kept us on the rails is those pinkies, man. Them things have been like the buffers keeping us in between the lines. But like Tim said, man, everybody on Twitter, if you want, go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe. We love it. Or comment on Twitter. Who cares? I appreciate it. Like I said, the team is exciting. I'm excited where it's going, but where they're heading, I just can't wait for Goody to show up, bring the talent in. We got 11 picks. We're going to trade back once. I guarantee it. Goody's going to pick at least a safety, at least a backer, and then who cares? A couple linemen like Tim wants. And dude, this team is gonna ride. The reason why we're listening right now in the off season in March is because we love this team. We want them to succeed. I can't wait. I need September to be here. Like Clayton said, I just want football.
Yeah. Well, listen, you got some stellar UFL coming up this month, boys. I'm telling you right now. Right?
Are we going to pick somebody up from there? Is Alabama only signing people that name starts with McKinney? I mean, I don't know what's going on. We got McKinstry. We got Kool-Aid.
The coolest names. Ain't no doubt about it. Jordan Taylor says in the chat, I would be surprised to see us again or us sign an established interior offensive lineman and draft 2+ O-line in the first 3 to 4 rounds. We looked at some offensive linemen because we talk about right guard being a position of need. I think center is too, to be honest with you, but that's a story for another day. With that being said, 3 free agents that kind of piqued our interest. And 2 of these guys are real cheap, and they're more of just a Band-Aid, right? Slap a Band-Aid on right guard. John Feliciano, $2 million is his market value. He's 32 years old, but he graded out 79.8 last year. Greg Von Roten has already been on the Packers roster some time ago. His market value is $2.7 million. He's 34 years old. He's drawing Social Security, but he graded out a 75.3. You know what I'm saying? Connor Williams, center out of Miami. Grade was an 86.5. Market value only $7.5 million. You're going, why? He's 26 years old because he tore his ACL late last year. So if you sign him as an investment for the future, right, that could be your potential starting center moving forward. But I would love to see them go out and get someone like a Greg Von Roten or a John Feliciano. Just plug them into right guard, draft 2 young players. If they beat that guy out in camp, then you've got some good depth at right guard too. $2 million is nothing, guys. That's chump change. So you can definitely make that work with the cap.
Could you imagine Goody going on free agency, grabbing Williams and McKinstry, and
Dude, you remember his first year as GM? That's what he did. He went and got Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, and turned around and got Adrian Amos. Did he get Adrian Amos his first year too, or was that the next year?
I think that was the following year, wasn't it?
Regardless, he's been aggressive when he needed to be aggressive, right? So I'm not going to be surprised if it happens early in free agency either, right? Because you do got a little bit of room to play with here, for sure. Carly Ray says, "I'm going to come on and cancel that damn pinky," is what she said. I don't know what you're talking about, Carly. You need to stop hating on the show. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. All right. All right, let's get out of here.
No, I just need to get out of here and go drink some water, I think.
I bet you do. All right, guys, we're out. We will see you in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau. That will be 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll try to find us something else to talk about. We still got some rounds in the
Art.
What's that?
Right, Clayton? Poor Art has been in the hopper for 2 weeks now.
Art Daly been in the hopper for a long time, but when you got stuff you can talk about, you got to hold that history back. I'm telling you, man. I remember last year doing the pod. When we get past the draft, there's going to be a dead period, and we're going to lean on Packers history a lot. And we're going to nerd out over some chalk talk. Carly Ray made a suggestion that we do a Aaron Jones chalk talk episode too, break down some of his best plays from last year. We need to do that. So
love it.
We'll break that out too.
Break out the sombrero, Emilio.
I'll get it. It's right up there. I'll grab it for you.
It's ready. It's ready. You got it right there on the wall. Look at Joyce, the MVP today. Said, gifted 10 Packer fan total access memberships. Appreciate that, Joyce. We're going to be giving away an autographed jersey here in the next couple of weeks. It's either going to be Antonio Freeman or Robert Brooks. Anyone who is a member of our PTA posse, basically a member of our YouTube group, all you got to do is click on our homepage on YouTube, click join, and we put everyone who's got a current membership. When we do the drawing, we throw them on a wheel, spin it live on the air, and give away some cool autographed memorabilia, just a way for us to give back for you guys and gals supporting us. Joyce, thank you so much. You're always such a blessing to the show. We really appreciate it. Also want to give a shout out to Jordan Taylor. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support and stream. And we'll get out of here. We'll see you guys in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go, Pack, go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Yes, a YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.